The second panel for today is Fostering Community Through Design, the case of Doha. And I would like to invite our moderator for today, Mr. أنجين Ayaz, co-founder and co-CEO of Atelier, a strategic design consultancy collaborating with QM, to introduce his panel. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is أنجين. It's an honor to be here. Today we'll talk about the intersection of design, community building, innovation, and urban development. We have two esteemed speakers with us. The first person is Mr. Mohammed Al-Rumaihi, the CEO of Qatar Museums. Please, let's welcome him on stage. And then the second person is Mr. Ali Al-Kowari, the CEO of Mishareb Properties. So wonderful to have you here. I think it's pretty symbolic that we are in M7, which is both part of Qatar Museums as well as Mishareb. It's really one of the most stunning developments I've personally seen in recent years from an urbanism standpoint, and how Qatar Museums is also catalyzing the community here, catalyzing these events and beyond is remarkable. So I will, of course, go through some of the broad questions asking about your background and your respective organizations, but hopefully we'll also let the conversation evolve as it comes. But maybe we start first with your personal backgrounds. What is your story? What has brought you to your current role leading one of these complex developments in Qatari landscape?
Thank you, أنجين, and thanks everybody for having this type of discussion about the design and the innovation happening in Qatar those days. My name is Ali Al-Kowari. I am the CEO of Mishareb Properties. Actually, my background is engineering. I'm not sure if we have some engineers here in the room. Oh, that's good. And so I started with the industrial engineering background with cost and planning, focusing on the processes. And I started my journey in oil and gas industry, which is totally away from real estate. Then I decided to shift into a real estate the moment I heard about Mishareb downtown Doha and the regeneration of the old downtown. What really inspired me is that the idea is to regenerate the old downtown, bringing new ideas, talking about architecture language. I'm sure that you are very famous with that topic. And also introduce the new initiatives, which is sustainability, the smart solutions, bringing a new architecture language that rooted in the past and talking about the present, and also be ready for the future. So here happened the shift, and I did shift the gear from oil and gas industry to a real estate. And I've been in this organization for almost 16 years. So I've noticed how things grow from an idea to a design to execution. Then you see it live here. And this building is very close to my heart. محمد also used to work in Mishareb Properties, by the way. And the way we design it, I see it now happening on ground. And the main idea when we designed this, actually it used to be called the Cultural Forum. Then we shipped the name to M7, and M started for Mishareb. 7 is the 7 steps that we used when we regenerate the old downtown of Doha.
And it seems the forum word has come back today.
Exactly. Is to have a place and platform where people can gather, designer, artists, even engineers can be part of these buildings, where they can showcase all their products. And
so this is exactly what you
imagined. Yeah. So I see it now. 15 years ago, it was in the board, and we were like scratching and having ideas. Some of my colleagues here, Hafid and Abdullah and Sheikha also was part of our teams.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Muhammad.
Thank you.
You revealed the secret. So my name is محمد الرميحي. I am the CEO of Qatar Museums, recently appointed CEO. I joined Qatar Museums in June of last year. Now I am almost 8 months old in Qatar Museums, and I have a mix of experiences. I worked in museums before as a part of the development of Mishareb Museum, so I was managing the development of the museums. I worked at Al Jazeera Media Network for 8 years. I worked in mega events, so I started my career in the Asian Games as a member of the organizing committee. And before joining the museums, I was working for the World Cup for 3 years. I'm proud to say that I'm sure many people will agree with me that was the most and the best World Cup ever. Even the FIFA president himself keeps saying that, and I keep asking him, how come you are saying this and we have other World Cup coming? So he said, I can bet my life on it. So mix of backgrounds, and what brought me to QM, I will tell you the story. It is exactly similar to a question of Her Excellency when she interviewed me for the job. She said, so what is your relationship with culture? So I told her, before 2012, my relationship with museums and culture was just as any other person. Museum is there. If I have time, I will visit. If not, if I travel elsewhere, I would probably think about visiting a museum or any cultural district. But the turning point is when I joined Msherab in the research and the development of Msherab museums. When I saw behind the scenes, when I saw, how people were passionate about having this history documented somewhere and revealed to the future generations. And whenever I used to go to, with some of my colleagues, Abdullah knows, and some other people, to have oral history with our elderly people, it was a very fun part, the research of it and the getting this information and put it in a museum. This is actually what brought me. So this was my answer. I said after 2012, I started having museum or any cultural district as a part of my visit to any country if I go for tourism or even if I go for work. So this is basically how I ended up in Qatar museums.
Amazing. It seems like both of you have quite, let's say, an interdisciplinary background, and I'm sure that's only helping in the complexity of challenges you face. While the scale of World Cup was something completely different, how the operations need to be managed in a museum context, in a heritage site, in a creative district. I'm sure there's a lot that carries over, and same with how making big developments happen is basically a process management challenge. Exactly. So that's fascinating to hear, and also refreshing that the creative industries is taking in people from all walks of life and basically enabling it to take it to the next level. So now with Msherab, I'd like to ask a more specific question on the idea of balancing act. It's certainly a development that's taking heritage into account, what used to be here, how it needs to be converted, what needs to be remembered, what needs to be retained. There's a clear articulation of a new design language, a new design system almost, if you may, and also a lot of commercial constraints and drivers. How did you work through that balance? And could there be lessons learned for other urban revitalization projects?
I cannot reveal my
secret sauce,
the whole secret, but I'll give you some tips. As you know, Msherab downtown Doha has been developed by Msherab Properties, which is a subsidiary from Qatar Foundation. And the aim again is to regenerate the old downtown of Doha and to be also the investors' arm to Qatar Foundation at the end of the day. So it is a quite tough balancing when you want to maintain the design, the innovation, the sustainability, and the smart solution. At the same time, you have to have it commercial viable, At the end of the day, we need to cover our operation cost. It's because it's been considered as an investment. So I remember during the workshop back in 2008 and 2009, when the chairperson of the organization asked questions to the designer. What if we have continued designing the way we used to design and build our old type of buildings and houses before the discovery of oil in Qatar? So we used to have our own way of building. We used to have our own way of exactly language, and it came by nature. They used to the way they oriented the house away from the sun and from the wind. So exactly we used the same concept. So what you see today is the continuation. If we have had continued designing, this is more or less the language that you can see. That's why we introduce all these language and patterns you see in Misharib, and actually we own the IP right of some of these patterns. And at the same time, you need to make it viable. So we did run the visibility, and we did have a very positive IRR, which is the return of investment. And as we see today, the city has been completed. Now it's 100% in operations. We have reached a right amount of occupancy in all sector, retails, offices, and apartments. We do have our museums, and we have good numbers of visitors, because each house in our development talk about a very specific topic, like the slavery museums, and you have oil and gas museums where they talk about the pioneer who actually been in the journey of discovering oil and gas in Qatar.
For those who haven't been, it's a fascinating...
So I encourage you guys, after this panel, maybe have a visit.
Yeah.
It's still in operation, Abdullah, museum. So it's open until late night. So I encourage you to go and visit. The other element is we had an idea is to have Misharib downtown Doha is a hub for designer, for people who have outside the box thinking, a platform where people can express their hobbies and their professionalism here in Misharib. That's why we created something also called Doha Design District, which is a cross function. And there is a close collaboration between DDD and M7. So whoever get matures here can be shifted to there and start doing business. And as my colleague mentioned, during the World Cup, that was our triggers actually, where we've been exposed to the world. People saw how convenience to reach to Misharib and how a convenience to move around the city. And all of that happened because we started from the human itself. So we asked the designer to design the whole city based on human requirements. So we always respect the human skill and the human requirement and the movement between point to point.
I have some more questions around it, so I'll park that.
I don't have my cheat sheet with me. So,
so on QM side, Qatar's cultural landscape is, of course, very diverse, very rich. And it's, as also what you alluded to, it's not a single entity that does it all. How do you see all these different entities and actors working together so that the communities are included and this becomes more than the sum of parts?
Well, I think the biggest proof is what Engineer Ali just mentioned, that the collaboration between Misharib and Qatar Museums and the Doha design and the utilization of the M7 building to make it as a hub for designers and to foster those talents. This is an evidence of QM collaboration with other entities. If you think about all entities that QM can collaborate with, either locally or globally, it's just a big number. In 8 months, I think, of my presence of Qatar Museums, I found myself working with Ministry of Education for the establishment of Qatar Preparatory School, and this is a school that is going to be a vocational school for creative industry. I found myself working also with Ministry of Education on the in different committees that we have established together to make sure that we support their curriculums and educational offerings. I found myself working with the Ministry of Family Affairs, because this year they are celebrating the year of family, and a lot of our offerings are family oriented, so they are relying on us to have a full year of activities working with them. We work closely with Qatar Development Bank, for example, to have a place where our incubatees can benefit from the funds that is given to them and the mentorship that is given to them. So I found myself working with different organizations, even communities. If you think about communities, we work with the local community, as a part of our research. We have many projects that are either coming or actually existing, like National Museum Qatar. We worked with a lot of local communities to come up with all the documentation and the oral history that is needed. We recorded over 500 oral histories. So it is very interesting. Some of our museums, actually, they are based on community needs. Establishment of Dedu, for example, the Children Museum, which is one of our future museums. We worked with families. We pilot some programs with them in order for us, once we reach to a level where the museum is operational, we have tested every program and validated the program with the families and the children and the parents as well, to make sure it's a safe environment and a nice environment for them to enjoy. We find ourselves as QM and or even the culture sector are embedded, integral part of every sector that is the country is focusing on in the future. We are part of the soft power of the country. We are a part of the education system in the country. We are a part of the economy, diversification of economy in the country. So we are integral. And in 8 months of me being in Qatar museums, I actually see how the vision of Her Excellency Sheikh Al-Mayasa is actually to play a big role in the cultural scene in the country through working in collaboration with different organizations.
That's a very challenging orchestration job that you have with all those stakeholders. So now that we've talked a bit about where your organizations are at, maybe looking ahead into the future, what is an initiative, a project, or a program of Mishereb that excites you? That's like, oh yeah, this is the new thing that we will pursue, because the main part of the development is over, but I'm sure all the nuances are not over, and I'm sure more ventures are in the horizon.
As you mentioned, now the development is over, the city is under operation. Now we need to cope with what's happening in the world, I know everybody is now talking about AI and how AI is being associated with our day-to-day practice. But our big target is to do a lot of activation of the cities and to try to bring some of the unique gathering like Design Doha and other forums that can do the buzz in the city itself. We would like to also capitalize on a number of workshops and sessions where we talk about AI and how AI can be part of our smart city experience. And also collaboration with some of the entities who's actually been in Mishereb and opening their office for the first time in Qatar, like Google Cloud. They have their office here and
just right
just
around
across
the corner,
road
right?
here. Yes.
Yeah.
So we are trying to exchange some of the lessons learned and some of the experience and solution on how to improve the experience in the city itself. So these are the target for the next two years. And also to be, also, as I mentioned earlier, the hub for any innovations and can use us as a platform for their demo projects in Mishereb.
Wonderful.
I can assure you, Engineer Ali, we can keep you busy 15 months a year.
Thank you. This is our target, actually.
And maybe I just want to understand a bit more, because AI is such a catchphrase, such a broad term. How do you specifically imagine AI contributing to the quality of life, to the quality of the communities here in the district?
Exactly. So just to be more specific and to dive deep in the details, we consider ourselves as one of the smartest city in the world. And actually we received a number of awards. The recent one was from Barcelona Smart City Exhibition.
Which is the long-standing conference.
Yes,
so
and actually that put us actually in more pressure now. Now we need to maintain that level and also enhance it step by step. Since we have that platform, we have the infrastructure that we invested on heavily. It is ready to cope with any new generation or new technology in the market. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel again. You have the platform and it is ready to go. So we have a number of collaboration, as I mentioned, with Microsoft and with some other small startup company who's focusing on AI. I'll give you just an example when it comes to residential. As of today, you can control all your climate outside your apartment, of course, through your mobile app or through the website. And you can do also controlling the lighting system, the parking, the access in and out, and also the delivery. Now, how we can enhance it further is by adding the AI functions, where you can do a lot of things with just one click or one command only. And this is what we are trying to enhance at this moment. I'm sure we're going to go through trial and error for a number of times, but I'm sure at the end of the day, the end user will be happy and very convenient with the smart solution. So I give you an example for the resident. We can apply the same for the retail itself by having an AI system, for example, linked with our loyalty program cards, where people can shop and get reward by points or cashback.
Yeah, that's actually interesting because what I'm hearing is on one axis, there's a convergence of the sustainability performance of the development and AI, the climate control and AI is very tightly coupled. The other one, when you talk about loyalty, is also related to the community story actually, because in Misherep there are tenants, there are visitors, but maybe one day what would it mean to really become a member of this broader ecosystem? And as a member, what is the exchange? Because we have found there's a big difference between intentional communities where you know you're part of it and you belong, and simply visitors or networks. So that might be definitely an interesting area to delve on.
Just to add one point on that, whoever lives or work or even have a retail here in Misherep is we do have something called Retail Majlis, which is the gathering, the forum, where we invited all the tenants in that specific forum, and we asked them questions, and we share actually some of their requests and also some of their examples on how to enhance the experience. So they are part of the community, and we consider them as our ambassadors actually. They even now start adopting some of Misherep elements like sustainability and smart solution, which is good actually. So we want that to be reflected in our tenants and visitors coming to the city.
That's amazing because as I know from the foundation story of Misherep, there's also a lot of citizen engagement and involvement in the design itself. Now it's being handed over to the tenants that kind of shape the future of the development. Now, on the Qatar Museum side, there is the part that you alluded to about all the partnerships you're forging. Zooming even further out, it seems like Qatar Museum's mission is really to catalyze the whole cultural and creative industries ecosystem. There, how do you see your organization playing a role as part of this bigger mandate?
I will just quote His Highness the Emir. Just want to be precise. His Highness said in the Lupon in September 2022, our era is different. Power is now appreciated more in terms of education, economy, but also culture. So even the Prime Minister said soft power and soft diplomacy are part of proving our existence and protecting our security. So we see ourselves as part of the soft power of the country. Probably people know that by next year, 2025, we'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary of National Museum Qatar and the 20th anniversary of Qatar Museums as an organization. And we'll be celebrating the 17th anniversary of our dear museum, Islamic Arts Museum, and also 15th anniversary of Methaf, 15th anniversary of Doha Film Institute. So you can say 50 years of culture, you can say 20 years of culture. It evolved from the time of our grandfather Amir, Allah yarhamah. He initiated, launched the National Museum Qatar in 1975. This shows how there was a strategic vision of how the culture at that time, and by the way, it was the first national museum in the region, in the Gulf. So there was a vision of the importance of capturing all the culture and investing in culture. And then the father Amir, when he came, he established Qatar Museums as an entity to put this as a part of the system, the entire ecosystem of the country. Many achievements have taken place. The strategy started with capturing the cultural identity. So when we started with National Museum of Qatar 50 years ago, And then we started exploring the heritage and archaeology sites and heritage houses and heritage sites that we keep exploring day by day and keep activating as well. Then the other museum and identity, which is the Museum of Islamic Art, it captures our identity as Muslim community. And we also opened the Methaf, which is for the Arab contemporary art. And this is also part of the first phase of the vision of showing the identity of Qatar and its context. Then we went to the next phase of being a social contributor, if I may say. So we started with the sports museum. And I don't know if people who are from, our guests from outside the country know that we have a sports day, which is a day off. So this shows the importance of having something like sports museum to our community to enforce this idea of sports as a part of the culture of the country. And soon we will have the Dedu Museum, the Children's Museum, and the Auto Museum. The children, we want to make sure that there is a safe place for families to gather. Normally there is an invitation. They keep saying, don't bring your children to weddings and all of that. But it is actually the opposite of that. Don't come without your children, or don't come without your parents. You have to bring your children. You have to come with them, So it is a part of the social development. And also we will have the other community of the Auto Museum. And this concludes the second phase of the strategy of Qatar Museums, because there are a lot of car communities. We have the classic car communities, we have the bicycle community, the motorcycle community, and all of that. And the third phase will be more focusing on the global outreach. Then we will have by then Lusail Museum that is going to talk about stories across regions and across countries. And we will have the Art Mill, which is going to be the Museum of the Contemporary Art, which is also very important place to showcase the contemporary art. The Arab art will be the heart of it. So across all of that, the creative industry kept evolving. So we started repurposing buildings to make them active for talents and to foster their abilities, because whatever they produce now, it's going to be probably history in the future.
What a journey. You're really describing the arc of 20, 25 years of a strategy, and it seems like while a certain portion is completed, there is more to come. As I know, the art mill is probably slated to open in 2030, right? Or somewhere around that.
2032.
2032, okay. So just a few years later, but the point being, it's actually quite powerful to imagine museums as catalysts for communities, where each museum is actually addressing a certain audience that comes there, feels that sense of belonging, feels that there is a hub for them to interact, and then there's one thematic clustering that I'm hearing, but also one that is across geographies. While some have catered to the local audience, the trajectory is to also move towards a more global one. So it's actually quite, as a semi-outsider, quite an elaborate strategy of how to not do one intervention in a system, but many at the same time and see where they pan out. Maybe then, looking ahead, we can discuss briefly about Doha's and Qatar's positioning in the global stage. You've said you've been part of the Barcelona Smart City Conference. I'm sure many other platforms also exist with Google, Microsoft, and the likes. So where do you see in the global stage the unique differentiation of what Doha and Qatar has? What is endemic to this place that therefore can position what is happening here to a very distinct place? Because we know a lot of, in the world of developments, there's a lot of blandness, there's a lot of repetition, there's a lot of cookie cutter projects. As an architect, I'm always keen to always imagine what's new. And Misharep is fresh, novel, and new. With its form, or also with its programming, with the mindset you're leading it, what do you hear from outside when they look at this and say, wow, you've really done a unique job here?
So far, we've been receiving a very positive feedback from all audience and all type of people. Actually, this is a very valid and good point, because when we started the design, we started from the history, of course. We saw our things rooted in the past, and we looked at the present, and we look at the future, how the future would look like. And we wanted to design something, again, focus on the human scale. So whenever you come to Musharraf, either if you are a citizen or a visitor to the country, you will have that feeling that you are part of the buildings. Somehow you are attached to it. There is some secret behind it. You belong to the city itself. So this is the uniqueness of Musharraf. I don't think Musharraf downtown Doha will be repeated, but we can share our lesson learned with others, and we see it now. For example, we've been talking about green buildings 15 years ago. It was new to the community, and even the contractor, they don't know how to build things on green, to be honest. And down the line, now our contractor, they have their headquarters with the green certification. So you see how it's been impacted in a positive way. So our uniqueness is that the language that we created, the location itself, the elements and the mix. It is a pure mixed-use development where you have the offices, the resident, the retails, the public cultures buildings like M7 and the museums, plus the hospitality sector. So you don't see all these mix happening in 31 hectare size. Plus we have another city below the city, which is all the services and utilities happening down in the basement.
And it's a challenging thing to pull that off technically in this
Of course,
geography.
during the construction, we have long chapters of lessons learned and challenges, because you are building a city in the middle of the city where you have a very sensitive building next to you. So you need to care about noise and dust and traffic. So you need to maintain all this happening. Part of our exposure to the international community, I would say we manage with the achievement of the team to get more than 80 awards regionally and internationally. Last time we participated as one of our responsibility in COP28, where there is a big challenge in the climate change. And we did share some of our lessons learned in Musharraf and how we are utilizing the natural resources, which is the wind and sun, and how we are capitalizing on the sun by having more than 1,400 solar panels on the roof. So our fifth elevation is also beautiful. I encourage you to rent a helicopter and just go over Musharraf and look at our fifth elevation. So I think our next step is to share our lessons learned, and we would like our standard to be expanded surrounding Musharraf downtown Doha. We have a very close, good project, which is Doha Oasis. It's like 300 meters. We have that synergy, and these two developments can be linked, actually. And on the other side, we have Souk Waqif, which is a traditional souk, and we already created that link with the underpass. So you can see the old and the new city of Doha.
Wonderful, thank you. And now for QM, I'll ask a similar question. I mean, your mission you have articulated started with museums, now spanning into creative industries. And what do you see, aside from the projects that you've described, what do you see as the challenge to really advocate for creative industries? Because it is something that requires many partnerships, and admittedly, it is also a bit of a soft and fuzzy term for some. So what are the challenges that you're facing? There are a lot of creatives and creative practitioners here, so it would just be interesting to explore that axis.
I think, to be honest, there was a challenge, which is for people to understand and to adopt that the creative industry actually a major contribution to the economy. However, it has been proven, in the world, $2.2 trillion is generated from the creative industry. And we also prove in Qatar that wherever there is a platform, wherever there is a hub for creatives to mingle, like what we have now in the Doha, in the Design Doha, we have, over 80 great designers from the Arab world, 18 from which are from Qatar. They just wanted this kind of platform to interact with big names, big architects, major designers in the world. We created this platform for them to mingle, to understand, probably to secure deals. And in fact, there are many deals that have been secured in the first 3 days, many of them. And we will do a follow-up probably later, maybe 3 months, 4 months down the line, just to check how this impacted the creative industry. For us in Qatar, it is something that is emerging. The entire country is going through the diversification of economy and capitalizing in the knowledge-based economy. And creative industries, we showed success in the design Doha, and we show, if I may speak on behalf of Fatima Rumeihi, I think the DFI is one of the successful stories of the creative industries, where filmmakers had the platform and the right mentorship, and now they are in the global market. You know, they have award-winning films and award-winning also filmmakers as well. So it just required someone to own it and someone to understand the ecosystem and puts it for the talents and believe of the talents that this ecosystem will help them. And we have proven that. So the challenge is how to take it up to the next level. I think we got the buy-in from everybody after the successful projects that we have done in collaboration with all parties that are involved.
Amazing. It seems like an inflection point for both organizations, actually, where you have imagined it, you have collaboratively designed it, you have built it, you have collected all the awards in Misharep, and now you're also thinking about what are the appropriations of new technologies like AI and how to weave it into community. But I would say Misharep isn't emerging anymore, it's established. And you're not importing things anymore, you're actually exporting IP, you're exporting patterns, you're exporting the mindset that built this place. And with QM, the long-standing investment since 2005, it seems like, you know, a lot of institutions like the FI, like others, have been built, and now this is the moment where, yes, of course, the import of amazingly talented practitioners is happening, but with the eventual intent that this will generate value and export it to the region and to the world. So it's an exciting time, I bet, for both of you as leaders to run these organizations.
It's our honeymoon now.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and everyone for your presence. I believe we're out of time and we'll hand the stage to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.